My name is Juliana Gallant, and we have Mr. Fuller, Mr. Borchard, Brother Tom. I think Mrs. Callio is coming back soon. And is Mrs. Wilson here? And there she is way back there. And I've been instructed to speak loudly because we're going to go back to trying to videotape these so that for those of you who are not able to make it, for your friends that were not able to make it, we're going to put it on our website for you. So we're going to try to do that each time, or maybe even provide something better to be continued. We're testing it out today. But again, welcome to all of you. Today, like I said in the communication hum about this one, it is about the application process, and so it will be heavily geared toward upperclassmen, but we do have something for every grade level. How many of you are 9th grade parents? Okay, there'll be a little bit for you. 10th grade? 11th? Okay, and any 12th grade parents? Okay, great, perfect. So welcome to all of you. Some of you are going to get a look ahead, and some of you are going to see where your children should be right now. The other thing I want to just kind of make you aware of, as a school, based on some concerns about how many multiple emails were coming home to parents, sometimes on one particular day, we've been asked as a school to try to streamline our parent communication to the CTW only. So what that means is that the emails that you have been receiving from us in the past, where we actually are writing to your kids but we CC parents, we won't be doing that anymore. So your kids will still be getting emails from us, and you're welcome to ask them to share that with you, but just so you know, the place for you to look for information on events or announcements that pertain to you will be found in the CTW.
CTW?
The Chaminade this week that comes home on Sundays in your mailbox.
Okay.
And if you're not receiving it, let me know afterwards, because I've been asked to kind of get a list of parents who are not receiving. But every Sunday you should be getting basically a newsletter for the whole school and all the events in the school. But just understand that that's why you may not be hearing from us as often, or we're not going to be copying you on your students' emails as often as we have in the past. Okay, so moving on. Oops. We'll start with 9th grade. Basically, we definitely need to emphasize the importance for you 9th grade parents of the freshman year grades and transcripts. There has been a myth as long as I was in high school that freshman year doesn't count. And it really, really counts. And so I've had actually 2 senior parents come to me already this year and say, continue to emphasize the importance of the freshman year grades to kids and their parents, because, you know, for those students who didn't realize that maybe their application opportunities are more limited than they would have been. That being said, colleges also know that freshman year can be a transition and all of those things we've told you in the past. But by no means does that mean that they don't count or they're not equally measured in our transcript. So that's very important. So your kids as freshmen get on this campus and there's so much to do. And it's exciting, sometimes overwhelming. They go on club day, they sign up for a lot of things. What we want from parents is to help them continue to balance themselves out. Make sure that they still have time to put academics first, that they do get involved. You know, please don't not allow them to get involved. Sometimes we hear from freshmen that, you know, they're going to take freshman year off, figure out the academics, and then get involved. We want them to start getting involved as freshmen because we want them to be connected to the school, and in terms of college, commitment and leadership in activities does matter. So we want them to get involved for both reasons, but we also don't want them to get in over their heads. And then also with the counselors, you know, through the year, we've already seen our freshmen as a way of welcoming them. And then when we see them again, we're going to go through their 4-year plan with them and start talking about what they should be taking in 10th grade, depending on their interests and their plans and all those things. So that's what we'll be doing with your freshmen. We also want them to get familiar with our Naviance program. What's wonderful is that their apostolic works are also, they keep track of those on Naviance as well. And so they are getting accustomed to Naviance earlier than they had in the past. One of the things I often tell my freshmen is, find the resume part of Naviance, and as you get involved, just go ahead and put those things in now so they don't have to try to remember when they're seniors all the things they were involved in, how many hours a week they put into it, what awards they got in that area. So, and on October 14th, for the freshmen, we are trying a new test with them. In years past, we gave them what was called the plan for those parents who have older kids, which was a practice ACT, basically. And then the plan disappeared, and they replaced it with the ACT Aspire. And we chose to wait out the first year of the ACT Aspire because it was very long and grueling and computer-based, and there were some issues with it. But we did go ahead and order it for this year for our freshmen. There's an optional writing portion that we're not going to have them take on that day so that it's not a really long test. It's still going to be a little bit longer than the PSAT. But the good news is the freshman English teachers have agreed to administer the English part in class that week. So they will, when you get the results of the ACT Aspire, they will have a full result plan for you. And it'll show them like areas that they are great in on the ACT, areas they might want to focus on as they move up in the years and need to study for that test. Any questions about 9th grade? I know there's only about 3 of you. Okay, so 10th grade, again, we always put up first, grades do count, but at the same time, we want them to continue to maintain balance. One thing that we do notice in our office is that students who have sports or things that take them out of class have a hard time remembering to that it's their responsibility. They love early outs. Let's just be honest. They love early outs. But they sometimes treat it as a day off or a class off. And it's really important that you help remind them that it's their responsibility, not their teachers, to find out what they missed, check in with the teacher, make sure their work is done and that they're ready for the next class. That's where we see some issue with a lot of missing work and lower grades because they're not balancing that. And then again, as the year goes on in 10th grade, we as the counselors will help work with them on their courses for next year and choosing those and why, honors, AP, things like that. The other thing in terms of 10th grade for college is we're going to start investigating Naviance with them a little more, helping them start preliminary college searches based on things like where do you want to go to school, like what state or what part of the country, how big of a school do you want it to be, or small or medium size, if they know their major. And in future college and copies we'll talk about majors, but and a lot of them want the rah-rah D1 football schools. And so, we'll look at those kinds of things. They also should attend the college fair. How many of you were able to make it out to our college fair this Sunday? Awesome, thank you for coming. That is a really great opportunity. And for 10th grade families and 9th grade families and 11th grade families, you'll have that opportunity again next year. We do it every year. We partner with 6 other Catholic schools and provide, there were 105 colleges that came out. And we asked them when they RSVP to only send admissions reps. So the people that your kids are talking to at those tables are the actual people most of the time that are going to actually read their essays, read through their applications, and be part of choosing them or not to come to the school. So it's a great opportunity for you to take advantage of. We're not the only college fair. We keep it on Naviance. So have your kids take you for a little tour of Naviance here and there. We'll advertise local college fairs on Naviance that are open to the public. Ours is not open to the public, it's just for our students, but there are some that are. And what is a really great thing to do as a family is start visiting college campuses. A lot of times you can just, make that part of your family vacation. they don't always love it, but you know, that is the greatest way to get them on campuses and start to have them feel if it feels right to them, size-wise, place-wise, people-wise, energy-wise, everything. That's one of my favorite things about our college tours, is that I get to witness kids go, oh my gosh, I thought this was my dream school, and I do not like this place at all. Or, you know, well, I'll tell you 2 quick stories. One is, I had a student last year, a senior. She had her list done. She knew she did not want to live in the Northeast because she went on our Northeast college tour. So she was kind of by default only applying to California schools, but went on our Midwest tour, kind of last minute, fell in love with Loyola of Chicago and Miami of Ohio and the Midwest, got into both schools, I want to say got money to both schools, and is at Miami of Ohio. So we're so lucky to get to witness that happening every time we take kids out, but you can witness that as a parent too. So just kind of make that part of your plan. And the sophomores will be taking the PSAT. As most of you have heard, the SAT is changing. The first new SAT will be administered as of March 2016. But this PSAT is truly the first time students will see the new SAT. So there's been a lot released by College Board through Khan Academy to study, tips, things like that. But this will literally be, October 14th will be the first time students see the new SAT. So we're exposing the sophomores to it as well as the juniors. And then in May, for those students who are in AP World History, or you know, maybe really strong in chemistry, they can start taking the SAT subject exams, world history, things like that. And then juniors. Again, colleges like to see rigor in your course load, so we'll be talking a lot to the sophomores about increasing the rigor as juniors if they haven't kind of bumped it up yet and they seem capable. We are going to encourage them to get even more involved in their activities, because remember I said they like to see commitment and leadership. So maybe they've been in that club for 2 years, but now what? Maybe they can become the treasurer or the president or whatever it is. And we really want them to start, like I said, taking leadership roles. And on Naviance, there's a lot of inventory. So when they start to say, well, I don't know what I want to be when I grow up, or I don't know what I want to major in, we can point them to career interest inventories and things like that to help them. There's also a great college search on there. There's a lot of wonderful tools on Naviance. A lot of students are afraid to start exploring it, but it's such a wonderful tool for them to take advantage of. And then in the spring, we want them to keep working hard, think about their senior year courses, find summer opportunities, and we'll do another college and coffee later on summer opportunities and how to find those. We also are going to be giving them, like I said, the preliminary SAT. For the juniors, the difference between sophomores and juniors is that for the juniors, depending on their score, the highest scoring students in the nation have an opportunity for national merit scholarship opportunities. So you'll hear us announcing sometimes the commended scholars, the finalists, the semifinalists. That's all based on the junior year PSAT scores. So it is something that they should be studying for. We are providing them just this week, in the last 2 days, with booklets that we're sending home with them. So ask them, junior parents, to see them. They have sample questions. They have a lot of information, not only on the scholarship search, but on the test, on what they should be focusing on, how many sections there are, how many minutes in each section. There's a lot of valuable information in those booklets. So have your students really look through them and take them seriously and take the tests.
The PSAT is a one-shot deal though, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Just once. The question was, is the PSAT a one-shot deal? Yes. So they're taking it the one day. It also, it doesn't hurt them. So the other good news about the PSAT is they get to practice for the SAT that they're going to take in the spring of their junior year, which leads me to the spring. We want them to take the SAT and the ACT in the spring. We hear all about the SAT here in California, and as a result, we make the assumption that it's the better test. We're here to dispel that rumor, that it is absolutely, they're equal. It's not the better test, it's not the worst test. Colleges want to see which one they do better on, and if they never give themselves the opportunity to take the ACT, we'll never know. One of the counselors had a student come in and say, the ACT is out of 36 points. And one of his students came in and said, I took the ACT on a whim and I got a 31. That's a really good score. So, you know, please encourage your students to take both. The first time that the new SAT is offered is in March. So the January one will be the current, or what people are already calling the old SAT.
Should they wait to take that new one versus the old?
Okay, so that's a great question. What we have continued to recommend is that they do, that the juniors take the new one. Originally we were saying that because we weren't sure if colleges were going to take both or not. Now most colleges are saying they're going to take both. But here's from your child's perspective, you're now asking them to prep for 3 tests, not 2. And if they prep for the current / old one and they take it in January, they're done. Like, they can't retake it. So if they take it in March and they don't do as well as they wanted to, they get to keep taking it all the way. Well, we don't want them to take it a ton of times. Don't misunderstand me, but they can take it again, maybe one more time in spring, or maybe in the beginning of their senior year. So they have more options to improve upon their score. So that's what we have been recommending all along. I know, though, that some of you have already made a family decision to have them do both, and you know, that's fine too. It's just we worry about the stress level of our students, and to have them study for 3 tests can be overwhelming.
Wasn't the goal of the new SAT or the new one in March to sort of level the playing field socioeconomically? That's what I was trying to read. It's like they didn't want all these kids to really go to the Princeton reviews and stuff like that.
Yeah, I definitely think that was part of it. Just so you all know, and Mrs. Benning has provided flyers about free test prep. College Board partnered with Khan Academy, and Khan Academy provides free test prep for the new SAT. So in that respect, anybody can tap into that free prep. So I think that originally, way back when these tests were created, it was to level the playing field. So you all go to different schools. What is the one thing that's going to show, you know, our potential? But then, with all the test prep and a lot of the money that was spent on test prep, it did kind of become imbalanced. But they also wanted to improve upon the test.
I have 2 questions. What are they going to call the SAT? The new? Is it going to be version 20? I mean, how will you know when you see it if you get a study guide, for example?
Right. It's going to be the only one. So as of March, it's going to be the only SAT, and then you'll have the SAT subject test as well. So I don't know that they're going to call it anything different.
Like if you want to get prep books, that's what I'm talking about.
Just look for, I'm guessing that most of the prep books now are geared towards the new one, because they can only take the old one a couple more times.
What's the difference between old and new?
Well, I actually,
That's a great question.
they're going back to the 1,600 points. They are, actually I have a little cheat sheet. I knew that question was coming. The reading and writing are going to be evidence-based, so they have to go into documents and pull out evidence as they write their answers. The essay is going to be optional, but it's worth 24 points total. So for all of us who took the SAT back in the day, it was out of 1,600, it's back to that. The other thing that most people are saying is that it's
So it's
kind
not
of
a
going to be,
2,400 score?
not anymore, it's 1,600.
Because of the essay portion. So
Well, that's a 24 optional, so that'll be kind of a separate test. It won't go into that number. So their
So
SAT score will be out of
So the new one will be 1,600 over
Yes,
like back in the day when
Yeah.
And the other thing that we've been told is it's going to be more like the ACT in terms of, you know, what has always been the theory on the ACT is that it's based on what they've learned so far. So that the SAT is going to be more like that. based on what curriculum they've already had and what they've learned so far. So certainly there's prep options, but the kind of prep options that were available for the old one, it's different because the old one, there were all the tricks, the test-taking tricks that are going to be different. And anybody want to add anything to that? Yes.
Okay, you say that the writing is optional, but for our kids that are going to colleges, like with all of us here, obviously, should they be taking it?
Yes. We've
The
always
UCs
Shouldn't be
said,
optional
The
for us.
UCs are going to
Right.
require it just.
Exactly.
yeah.
So
Okay.
that would be something we would advise them just with the ACT. Always take it with writing. There's no reason to take it without writing.
Okay,
Right.
so it's not an option for us.
Yeah, you shouldn't make it optional for your kids, yeah.
No,
I had a second question.
Okay.
I had a second question.
Yes.
Can you explain the SAT subject exam? What is that?
They're subject tests that are just based on that subject. So the very selective schools require them, others recommend them. So it'll be if your child is great at world history, AP World History, they'll go at the end of sophomore year and take a world history subject exam. It just continues to show the college's more proficiency.
So if they took eight.
We have to move on, so I'm going to ask you to hold your questions to the end because
No,
we
but it's
will.
just easier.
um,
Because they already did.
We will have questions at the end time at the end for questions. So I feel like we did a lot of this already. The only other thing I want to really emphasize is that please continue to encourage your juniors to go to the lunchtime college visits. And there's always a list on Naviance that's updated. We're also keeping the list on our website updated. And make sure, hopefully you'll at least consider having your child participate in one of our tours because they're great. I can't emphasize that enough. And we're also going to, for junior parents, we're going to have college kickoff earlier this year. In the past, we've done it in January. We're going to have it for you in November 10th, so that you can get going sooner, so that you can lower your anxiety. For all of you who keep saying, we don't know if we're doing what we're supposed to be doing yet. We will tell you in November exactly what that process is for you. And we'll also be encouraging your students to be working on their resume and their questionnaire on Naviance. All right.
Good morning. Before I begin, was getting information from various people. I want to make sure we hit on that. The video and the whole presentation. The presentation will be on Blackboard, and the video will be on the Chaminade Counseling page's YouTube page. So if you have any friends that want to check it out, they're more than welcome to. Also, when we're talking about testing, I can feel the anxiety of the room increasing. Testing can be very expensive if you're paying a private tutor or a company or whatever. Chaminade has many good resources that are actually free for you. So on Naviance, we have a program called Prep Me, which has SAT and ACT. We also have an account through Schmoop, which is right here. If you pick up a flyer on your way out, it's a program that's free for your students. We intentionally got it for them. SAT, ACT, APs, the whole 9 yards are on Schmoop. And then for the juniors and sophomores, your student may or may not have a Khan Academy account already. If they do, or if they don't, we encourage you to get that. If they do, on the PSAT there will be a little checkbox where they can just do a little circle or whatever it is, and then that will link to their Khan Academy account. And Khan Academy is creating intuitive questions so that students can prepare better for the SAT as they go on further. So in other words, it's linking how they did on the PSAT, good, bad, or ugly, with how they can better prepare for the SAT as they go through it. Okay? And those are all free resources. I'm going to talk just about senior year, and we're kind of intentionally sequestering that because it is senior year. It's kind of the big application year. If you're a senior parent, you've probably heard, I hope, of these websites. Common Application is exactly what its name suggests. It's a group, or it's a website designed to make the application process easier. It primarily consists of private institutions throughout the country. There are some public schools that are member institutions as well. But basically, if your child is applying to USC or University of San Diego or Texas Christian or a school back east, it's likely going to be on the Common App. Other popular websites for our students would be the Cal State application, which for all of the Cal State schools, it's all in one application. You do it once, you go through it, and then you are complete. You can send it to as many schools as you want, which is great. Then there's the UC application, which, as the name suggests, would be for the University of California systems of schools. Similar to the Cal State, it's one application. You fill it out once and you can send it to as many campuses as you're interested in. And yes, you do have to pay for each individual application to those schools. And then the last one would be out-of-state public schools. So the University of Oregon or Arizona, Utah would be kind of our popular out-of-state public schools. And those are going to be on their own individual application. But I can tell you, once you've filled out one, or once your student has filled out one, you should kind of have the gist of what's going on, and it's all pretty much the same. Okay, so where should my senior be today, September 23rd? Yes. First, we want them to have their application list complete, or if nothing else, very nearly complete. Ideally, by the end of September, they pretty much know their 6 to 10 schools. It's a well-balanced list, maybe a reach or two, definitely a safety or two, and then the rest kind of in the middle. If you have any questions, or if they have any questions, have them sign up for a meeting with their counselor to make sure that we can get that done. ACT and SAT, in all likelihood, they're done. If not, they're taking one extra one in October or November. Some students will take the SAT or ACT in December, just kind of as a last-ditch effort, if you will. If your student is applying early action or early decision, November and December is a little bit too late for the SATs and ACTs. So just kind of keep that in mind. They'll be using an earlier testing if they're deciding to retake. The essay should be a work in progress. We're notoriously harsh critics of your students' essays. So we love to read them, and we love to see them as they kind of develop so we can gear them towards what they're supposed to be from the get-go and not at the end and trying to fix a mess, if you will. But their essay should be at least started. A good outline, a rough draft, whatever it would be, should be on its way. If they have no idea what the topic is even going to be, you should probably have a conversation with them to get that at least started. We do recommend that the essay be reviewed by the teacher, by an English teacher for the grammar and the composition piece of it, and by the counselor, just because we kind of have an idea of what they're looking at. I know I've read at least a couple thousand essays. Mrs. Galgo's probably in the 10,000s of essays with the time she's had. But in other words, we have experience with this. We're knowledgeable about it. We've done this enough. We've seen the same essay hundreds of times. We know what it looks like, and our goal is to make it a little bit different so your student can shine. That's why we want to read it, and that's why they need to start early as well. If your student is on Common App or the UC app, they should at least have an account. Be going through the basic questions like what their name is, their birth date, the classes they're taking, the activities they've done, their awards, everything like that should be in about now. These are things that don't take too much effort. It's just a lot of time to put it all in. Tedious is the word.
What's EAED?
Sorry?
Oh, early action.
Yes.
Okay, all right.
Recommendations. So typically on Common App, you'll need 1 to 2 teacher recommendations. So they should be thinking of their junior year teachers in an academic course subject. So 1 to 2 of those. And they understand fully how to ask them. You should probably just have a conversation, say, who are you thinking of asking? So you guys can have a conversation just to make sure it makes sense. The counselors will write a recommendation for any student applying via the Common App. We're happy to do it, but we do need to have a meeting with them. So if your child is applying early action or early decision, we would like to meet with them at least 3 weeks before their early action deadline so we can make sure that their recommendation is complete and strong and really represents the student well. Last piece is Naviance. So for seniors, other than the college section, the two big pieces are the recommendation questionnaire, which starting freshman year you can start to work on, and then the resume. And the resume we definitely recommend starting to work on as freshmen because it's very difficult to get an 18-year-old to remember what they did when they were 14. All right, the rest of the fall semester. So October is coming up very quickly. Starting October 1st, if your student's applying to a Cal State, any Cal State, their application will open up on October 1st. They can apply at any point after that date. Both the Cal States and the UCs have a deadline of November 30th. Grades need to be kept strong, of course, and then by the end of October, they really need to have a strong essay draft completed, especially those early action students. And part of the reason for that is a lot of the schools on Common App have what's called supplements. So in addition to their main essay, they're actually going to be writing smaller essays, short answer questions that are all varied and different depending on the schools that you're applying to. So it's not just a simple fill out the application, have the one essay, and then you're done. For a majority of schools, it's an extra added piece that they have to complete as well. Come November, applying to the Cal States and UCs, like I said, must be done by the 30th of November. Yes?
I'm just curious, does the UC, ELC program factor into this at all in the timeline?
ELC basically is just an identifying process to indicate that their GPA, as it would stand for a UC GPA, is near the top of the class.
So there's no, it doesn't change this process or timeline?
Nope.
or anything? Okay.
There's nothing that you need to do any different. Please mind the early deadlines. November 1st comes up much quicker than you might think it does. So senior parents, if you have an EA kid, just kind of think of that. Finish up any testing like we said, and then begin the hunt for scholarships. Your student will start receiving scholarship emails from me within the next couple of weeks, identifying them either school specific or private scholarships that they can apply to any school that they would attend. So as you will not be CC'd on those in all likelihood, kind of keep track of them to talk about the scholarship component as well. We ask as counselors that by the 24th of November, we've had a meeting with them to discuss their letters of recommendation. So that's for any school deadline, January 1st or later as well. So we're asking them to plan at least a month in advance so that we can take the time to write their letter and so that we don't have to use Christmas Day to write a letter of recommendation for your student when we'd rather be spending it elsewhere. Please make sure transcripts have been requested as well. This really just applies to the out-of-state and the Common App schools. They do all this through Naviance. They've been told up and down how to do it, but just kind of keep track of them, make sure that they've done that.
I have a question.
Yes.
How often do you meet with them, the counselors?
So we are in the process of meeting with all of our seniors right now for the first time, and then depending on the student, they're welcome to come in at any time, sign up on our door, and then we will meet with them again to discuss their letter of recommendation as needed.
They would like to meet with you their junior year and discuss this ahead of time?
Sure, absolutely, they can
That's
sign
fine.
up. So for the rest of the fall semester, we're going to try to nail this as much as we can. Attend the college rep visits during second lunch. They should be going. The representatives who are on campus are the representatives who read your students' applications. They are specific to that school, this region, everything like that. So it is very important. I've seen it happen where a student gets to be very knowledgeable with the representative and know them almost on a first name basis, and it's really helped. So the more face time they can get, the more specific questions they can ask, the more they show an interest in that school, the better their chances are. We have application workshops. We will have 4 of them throughout the semester. These are during X block. They are just designed to have your student come in, work on whatever piece of whatever application they'd like to work on, and we will have a bunch of counselors in the media center to help them out. So the first one will be tomorrow. They can work on their essay, their Common App, their UC app, whatever it would be.
Is that open to everyone?
No.
It is open only to
Seniors
seniors.
only.
Yeah, it's just
We're actually
application
working on
specific.
applications, and we're gonna talk about the essays briefly at the beginning of the workshop.
In December, applications should be finalized. I like to give a rule of, if it's due January 1st, it should be submitted at least a week and a half out. Give yourself that chance to have the computer freak out and for there an error to be in and to be able to still get the application in on time. Follow up with teachers and counselors via email and in person. And then, of course, prepare for finals, which are December 16th to 18th this year, just so you're aware. Throughout the entire process, we recommend to students that they need to be checking their email daily. Typically, students will have it on their phone, but they definitely need to be on there at least once a day. Whichever email they're using for applications, they should be looking at least once per day. And each school will have what's called a portal. It's basically their website login. They need to be checking that quite often as well. Schools don't call or text them or otherwise communicate with them directly other than general emails and through their portals. So it is their responsibility to keep track of their applications, make sure all the individual components are in there. So it's in their best interest to go onto their portals quite often to make sure it's in.
What transcripts are sent? Through junior year or?
Correct. So seniors, when they're applying, even through January 7th, 8th, 15th, whatever it would be, they'll have the freshman through junior year transcripts. Test scores are not sent. They must send their official test scores through the testing agency, so through College Board or ACT student. Later in January, we'll send what's called mid-year reports, which will include their first semester of senior year grades in there, which is why that first semester of senior year is very important for their grades, because it could be a make or break semester in terms of a yes or no for admission.
Just a quick question about sending the scores. You just have to send it the one time, it doesn't matter when, like if they took it, in March or whatever.
Yeah, if they only took it in March or June and you're going to send it now, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's like the ACT, I noticed that if you didn't send it, like he took it in June, if he didn't send it in June, now they only send the current score.
Correct. So
The next
ACT
time.
is a little bit different than the SAT. The SAT allows you to send any SAT or SAT subject exam you've ever taken in one group. ACT, you actually have to send the individual testing date. Yeah. So if you are taking the SATs later, say November or
We'll
December.
take questions at the end, because we
Yeah.
want to make sure we're going to
Sorry,
get through
yes.
all the material.
All right.
This is very.
So up to this point, you guys have kind of heard the whole process that your kids are going through from freshman through senior. This is all something we communicate to them. We have meetings with them. We just got done going into every senior class and going over everything you just heard about with the seniors. The whole process, deadlines, things like that. So now what we really want to talk about is what you guys can be really doing to help your students. All right, a lot of this, they need to be doing. Hopefully you guys aren't doing their whole application, writing their essays, things like that. That's all on them. So what I want to kind of focus on right now is kind of what your role is as a parent, okay? So the biggest thing is we want you to support them. We want you to be their cheerleader. We want you to encourage them, all right? I hope you realize, I know you guys have a lot of anxiety about this, I understand that. But imagine your students having a lot of anxiety about it too, all right? They hear it all the time. their friends are talking about it, their friends might be a little bit farther along than them, so they get anxious. So as much support as you can provide your students through this process, the better they're going to be. Okay, so being a cheerleader for them is huge. All right, one thing we like to do, you've heard about their personal statements, the recommendation questionnaire they do. There's a parent brag sheet that you can do as well. We love to hear from you guys on what you feel about your child. All right, we all know you love them, but what is your experience? What are some examples you can give us when we're writing our letter to help us communicate to the reader about your child? All right, this is something you want to do as a senior parent. Okay, if you do it as a freshman parent, your kid's going to change, I hate to tell you. All right? Do it as a freshman, it's going to be a completely different senior year. So you want to wait till senior year to do this brag sheet. And in order to do this, you have to have your own account for Naviance, which is free for you guys. You just have to email your student's counselor, and we'll give you the registration code you need to log in and fill out the parent brag sheet. So this is a great opportunity for you to tell us how great your child is. Okay. Like I was talking to you guys about, make sure that they're taking ownership. You know, make sure, help them, guide them, come up with some, schedules on when they need to do things, but they need to take ownership of this. All right. They're the ones going to college. You guys aren't for them. Okay. They're the ones actually going. They're the ones that are going to have to sit in the classes. They're the ones that are going to have to attend sporting events. They need to take ownership over this whole endeavor. All right, so make sure that you're holding them to that. Have discussions about the balance. All right, we always have the students that come in that they throw all these schools on that they've heard about. What you have to keep in mind is the schools they've heard about account for a very, very small percentage of the universities across the country. All right, there's probably about 4,000 universities and colleges across the country. They've probably heard about 25, 50, 60 at the most. There's a lot of colleges out there. And those 25, 50 are going to be those higher end ones that everyone wants to apply to, that are in all these reviews that you see online, things like that. There's a lot of schools out there, and we want you guys to encourage them to have a balanced list, right? Not just those top reach schools, but some other ones, so that when the spring rolls around, they have options. Right? We like students in the spring to have options and have to sit down with us and go, I got into 8 schools. I don't know which ones I want to go to. All right, well then let's talk about it and figure out which option is best for you. The other thing too is just in general, don't let them overcommit. All right, we all know students that get involved in 15 different things at school. They have no free time. They have no time to be a child or a student or anything. Let them enjoy high school too. Encourage them to have balance. If they're up and only getting 2 hours of sleep a night, that's not good. They're not going to be able to maintain that pace for a long time, so we want to make sure that we support them and encourage them to have a balance. All right. And the last thing, as we always talk about, try to get your student to go see some schools. Go with them. Right? It's so different once they're on a campus and they actually get to see what it's like. We're very fortunate in the area we live because we have so many different types of schools. We have Pepperdine right by the beach. We have UCLA, LMU, USC, Occidental, CLU, Channel Islands. All of those you can get to within 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic. Okay? Great opportunity for you guys to just go and see schools, and even if they don't want to go there, maybe they get an idea of they like a small school, they like a big school. There's different ideas they can get from going and just visiting a school. All right, so try to take your child to go see the schools as much as possible. We talked about briefly the colleges that are coming during second lunch. This is a fantastic opportunity for our juniors and seniors, and I know sometimes sophomores want to go. Keep in mind they're still going to have 2 more years to go and meet with these reps. These are the same reps that usually come every single year. All right, so today we have Emmanuel College and Harvey Mudd College. In addition, Santa Clara is here. There was a mix-up yesterday, but they are coming today. So Santa Clara University will be here for them to listen to. All right. You can also see this week we have University of Michigan, Loyola Chicago, UMass, a lot of schools you guys have all heard of. These are the actual representatives that would be reading essays. So it's a great time for them to come, get a lot of great information, get their name out there. Colleges keep track of who comes because they like to know who's really interested in their school. So it's something beneficial for them to come to. All right, so one thing we like to talk about is this website called Colleges That Change Lives. All right, this website does a great job. There's the schools on Colleges That Change Lives do not pay this company any money. It's a nonprofit, so they don't pay them anything. This is something that the organization goes out and they have their own criteria and they choose the schools. All right, these schools are ones that have been identified to give kids a fantastic college experience. Right? They may not be the top 25 school. They may not be the top 50 school, but they have fantastic programs, fantastic connections with other companies so you can get internships, and kids like being at these schools. Now I know this is really small. I'm going to show you another list, and keep in mind this will be online as well. And you go to the website and it shows you all the different schools. You can click on them, learn more about them, see what the averages are. But it's a great place to go because these are colleges people are happy at. And I guarantee you've not heard of them all. I look at the list and I go, oh, Olaf College. My son really likes Frozen. That's the only way I know. But it's a fantastic school. All right, so the next list, these are the top 50 colleges that you can get into with a 3.6 GPA. We like to throw this out there because the names that you would probably throw out for colleges are ones that their averages are around 4.0s, 3.9s, 4.4s, things like that. The ones that are circled on here are all part of the colleges that change lives. All right, so you can see there's St. Olaf. All right, there's Clark, Wabash. There's a lot of different schools on here that would be something for your student to look into. There's something out there for everyone. All right, not every student's going to be able to go to Stanford. Only about 5 to 8% of the students that apply there get to go there. Not every student gets to go to Ivy League. But there's a lot of other choices out there that your student will be happy at, I promise. Okay. So this was just a short video of one of the people from Colleges That Change Lives. We will actually be having that program come to Chaminade and give a speech presentation about this topic. So we wanted to give you the information on this. She's a fantastic speaker. I promise you guys will like it. And you'll get a lot of great information, and it might encourage you to look at things from a different perspective. Okay, this is a very stressful time. You all talk with each other, you all have friends with students at other schools. There's a lot of pressure out there. This might kind of open your eyes a little bit. All right, so there'll be a lot more information coming out about this, but I really encourage you guys to try to make it. Okay, so we wanted to leave it open now for some questions. We have about 5 minutes.
Brother, can I ask for just a minute to make a quick announcement, and then I'll take questions.
My name is Brother Jack Dempsey. I've been here now 5 years. My background was college counseling for 21 years in Pittsburgh and 22 years in Cleveland, Ohio. And I graduated from the University of Dayton and Western Michigan. But anyhow, I'm running our 4th annual career night, and it's scheduled Tuesday, November 17th in the Bob Hope Center. It's from 6:30 p.m. to 8 o'clock. Now, all students are invited. This is not a career, a job interview. It's just career exploration, and it's designed to cover career clusters, the arts, business, math, science, health, medical, and social services. Now, if there are any parents here who would like to consider sharing your expertise, I'll be back here, so stop by. I'm just opening up the books for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes.
The types of programs that my son is applying to, he's been taking outside instruction, specialty stuff for musical theater. And if he wants to put in a letter of recommendation toward that major that comes from someone outside Chaminade, can they access Naviance to write into it?
No. So let's say Common App, for example, there's an opportunity to assign a supplemental writer, and then they will be provided a link to their Common App by email, and they'll fill it out that way.
Okay.
So we don't give them access to our Naviance accounts, but there are ways to provide supplemental letters.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything? Any senior parents that came to junior kickoff last year and saw Nellie Furtado from Colleges That Change Lives? Okay. Amazing, right? So that's our advertisement.
Yeah.
Please, what we decided is to invite her back. We're not going to be able to have her every year, to be honest with you. But we decided to invite her back right away and open it to all parents and their students. So it's not just for juniors this year. It's for any grade level. I think the message is valuable for any grade level. She talks about FIT. She helps give you tips on lowering the anxiety within your families as you go through this process. She talks about the other schools beyond the 150 you hear about all the time. She's amazing, and as a parent, I love every second of her. So hopefully you'll be able to come out to that. Parent and student. Your students are invited as well. Don't leave them at home. There's messages for them too.
What date?
October 8th.
What's the best strategy for early action? Do you know like one or two schools early action?
Anybody else on this?
We answered it after. It's a very niche question.
The question was, what's the theory on early action? But it really is kind of case by case. So we'll go ahead and. But you know, there are some students that do. Go ahead, Liz.
I would say your rule of thumb with doing early action, it's general obviously, is you want to be a head-on, straight, good fit for that school applicant. You don't want to be below. You don't get any bump in the advantage of getting into the school by applying early action. And if in fact you're below a GPA or a test score, you could be putting yourself at a disadvantage. So the other criterion would be you don't want to be relying on test scores that you're doing in November or December, or your grades from first semester of senior year. So if you need those grades to get your GPA where it should be, that student should not be applying early action to that particular school. Obviously, it may be appropriate for some schools on the list, not all, but that's something that we can talk to them about specifically school by school.
Anybody else have any questions? All right. Well, thank you all for coming. We didn't show you our Colleges That Change Life videos because we wanted to give you time for questions, but it will be on the website. You're welcome to take a quick look at it. She's not the speaker that will be coming, but it's her partner. Their message is the same. Thank you so much for coming.
Well, I don't know.